him and push him and push him and push him. And, you know, a lot of times they just won't listen to the crowd. But let me get back to the question you asked me. What do I find good about TNA? Well, you know, I was really, really into the fact that they were pushing Sabin and Shelley because I thought they were amazing, you know.
Yep.
And I wanted to see them against LAX, which I thought would have been some great matches, or against maybe Sanjay and Lethal. Those would have been some great matches right there. But, you know, now Sabin and Shelley's in the doghouse, but I'm happy that they were giving them a push. Let me see. Another thing that I liked. I liked how they were pushing you know, Jay Lethal, but, you know, you never know if they're going to continue to push him or not because you saw what happened the first time.
Right.
I'm not a big fan. You know, you want to hear positive stuff, so I won't get into that. Let me see. I think it's good that, you know, they're trying to focus a little bit more on the girls. I think they're still overrated. There's only really about 3 or 4 of them that can really work. I mean, when they go, oh, the girls' division's the best thing they have compared to what? The WWE? That's a fucking joke.
That's a good point.
You comparing the Mexican girls or some of the girls I've seen on the indies or the Japanese girls, they're still light years away. You know, they're still doing tits and ass in TNA, if you ask me, with the exception of a couple of them. But still, that's good for the girls. You know, they're not just always there as eye candy.
Right.
I think it's good that, you know, they're going to go live. That's important. That'll get a lot of the guys that, you know, have the safety net of being able to redo their interviews. This is going to sharpen them up. This is going to get guys like AJ Styles and Joe ready to be, you know, champions, because it can't be Kurt Angle forever. He doesn't even need the belt. He could still be a spokesman for the company like he has been and, you know, be, you know, the most pushed guy without the belt. I think them signing people, you know, they've been very lucky because, as you've noticed, almost everybody that's had a chance to re-sign with WWE, whether it's Matt Hardy, Jeff Hardy, you know, Carlito, Chavito, Rey Mysterio, you know, they all of their contracts ended, and they all stayed with WWE. You know, they were lucky that Booker got mad at them because of that steroid thing his name came out at, and he was probably tired of being on the road. You know, and Kurt Angle, they were lucky with him too, you know, that they got these guys. You know what I'm saying? Because there hasn't really been too many top guys that have said, fuck it, I'm quitting WWE because I want to be in TNA. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, let me ask you this, too, just because it kind of came to my mind right now when you were thinking about that. You know, I remember when Christian went there.
Right.
I remember when when Kurt went there, and it all seemed like it was for the same reason. They'd always come over, the Dudleys, I mean, all of them, they'd always come over, and probably, I think every one of them, when they first got to TNA, in one of their first 2 or 3 promos, if not the first one, they put over TNA's talent,
right,
and being a part of something that great.
Right.
Nowadays, I mean, you know, at one time you expected so many more from WWE to jump ship, and you're not getting that. How long has it been now? With the exception of Booker T, and we all know the reason. I mean, they just threw him out to dry almost in WWE, and he felt like he had to do it. But how many of them are actually making that decision when they don't really have to? It's like a lot of them that are probably not that happy. Take, for example, Carlito. I mean, if TNA were putting on a product different than WWE and something that not only the fans but even the workers in the business respected and thought, you know what, that's innovative, that's original, that it seems fun, it seems different, it seems new and fresh, I want to go there. You know, they've got the best talent in the world. They've got well, it doesn't look that way on the outside looking in anymore because of the direction that TNA's taken their product.
Well, I'll give you an example. I'll give you 3 guys I spoke to before they re-signed with WWE. I spoke to Chris Jericho, I spoke to Chavito, and I spoke to Carlito. And all of them asked me about TNA. Now, with Chris and Chavito, I was still in TNA. And with Carlito, I had already left TNA. And, you know, they were asking me, you know, how it was and this and that and how much you could get paid. And, bro, the minute they found out how much you could get paid, they were like, fuck that. And I was like, well, do you watch the show? And they don't really give a shit that much about the show, bro. They don't care if it's stupid or if it isn't stupid, even though Chris Jericho was one guy that did watch the show. And he was just like, bro, I don't know if I could go there. I don't know what they do with my, I'm afraid they fuck up my character. You know what I'm saying? And so I think one of the main things is, and I told, like I told Carlito, I said, look, they didn't treat me right because of this, this, and this, and this, but that doesn't mean they might not treat you right. There's a double and triple standard there. Like right now, I'm sure they're going head over heels to make sure Kurt is happy and Booker is happy.
Oh, yeah.
They don't want to lose those guys, but they could give a fuck about most of the other guys. And I go, so they might see you as a big star and give you that fucking royal treatment like they give the guys on top. But I'm telling you, this is how it is, And so, most of those guys are like, fuck it, I'd rather stay here. There's more money. It's the major league. It's organized. They know what they're doing. Yeah, there's bullshit in politics, but there's bullshit in politics everywhere. And at the end of the day, they stay there, just like RVD says. I would love an easier schedule, but you can't you can't compete with the prestige of WWE, and he's right. And TNA's never going to be able to take it to the next level if they continue like they are. I think another good thing that TNA does is, they give a lot of the lighter weights a chance to shine, but you can only get so far, and that's a shame. And one of the reasons at the beginning they were giving a lot of the lighter weights a lot more opportunities is because they had nobody else. Nobody else wanted to work for TNA. But now that they've gotten all these guys that are established, but they can't really work, but they have a name, they're just kind of stockpiling those guys up and ignoring the real talent that they have underneath it. Like I said, it reminds me a lot of WCW.
Well, and then on top of that, if you look at a legitimate sport, though, like MMA, boxing,
right.
those sports, you've got lightweights, you've got cruiserweights, welterweights, you've got, everything in between based on their weight. But
right.
They're all legitimate titles. Now, they might not mean as much to the fans as the actual heavyweight title. That's kind of the big kahuna in a way, and the rest isn't necessarily small potatoes, but at the same time, it is, it is kind of to a lesser extent than the world. But I don't think from an X Division standpoint, when they actually made that mean something, to me, I don't think people didn't care about the world championship scene.
Bro, it doesn't even matter because, look, if you remember back in the day, Bruce Lee, I'm a big Bruce Lee fan. I used to watch his movies, and he always used to have this real big guy called Bolo Young or something like that, like this big, jacked up, Chinese guy that he would always kick the shit out of, but he was a badass. And there was nobody going, fuck, I can't believe that's true, because Bruce Lee was a badass, just like Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero was smaller than me. He was probably 5'9", but he was beating... he beat Brock Lesnar. No, he beat for the... Was it Brock Lesnar that he beat for the championship? Or Brock Lesnar helped him? I forgot who he beat right now. Might have been Kurt. But anyways, the bottom line is that, Eddie was very believable. You can have, guys that are smaller like AJ Styles and Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, and people will believe in them against the big guys,
Yep.
That's all bullshit, bro.
No, I agree. I agree with you. But at the same time, I think for those that aren't doing that, you've got the, you don't want every one of them, the stars that shine, like the AJ Styles, I think you can always push to the top, and they can always break away. But I don't think it should be looked at as such a bad thing to remain in a credible, X division or cruiserweight division,
But they've made it uncredible.
But they've made it very uncredible now. So
nobody wants to be there. It's like what they've done with ECW. Nobody wants to go there, because they're like, fuck, am I getting heat or what? And it's just the way that shit is perceived.
Right.
And so, that's just something that has to be changed, and you need to re-educate the fans.
Well, hey, you named 2 or 3 things that you liked at least, so that's good.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. They're very little, but there are a couple of things.
All right, guys, this is 5150 Real Talk with Konnan. We'll get another live debate ready to go within the next week for sure. Next week, don't forget 5150 Real Talk with Konnan. And every single day, you can go in there and pose questions for Konnan. He always shoots it straight. He always keeps it real. Always keeps it 5150 for you, the fans, exclusively here at WrestleZone.com. Anything else, Konnan?
My shit's real talk, real shit. If you think it's real bitter, whatever you think, that's on you. I know what I had to go through, and I'm just coming out here and telling you what I went through. If you want to interpret it any other way, that's on you.
WrestleZone.com, guys. We appreciate